Is this gonna be beaten in 7? Is somebody gonna be able to do 2 maps in?
It comes to an end. Here we go! There we go, boys. We are freaking done. That is it. Here we go. GG the chat, boys. That's the last map.
Is this gonna be beaten in 7?
Test that out. Yep. But soon, when I decide to attempt round 255 on this map, I'm going to have to look into this. You know that? A singular waffle shot can usually help you max up 10 zombies. Now you know. I'm generally alongside the Shima per turn, which was at the end of round 92. Then we proceeded. The zombies spawning from the left side tend to take longer to get to you, and they tend to be fat. Just make sure you don't put down a large boulder, then shoot the zombies. Starting off on day 1, December 24th, 8:30 p.m. PST time, what I had on mind was to try to get at least 2 maps completed, best scenario 3 maps depending on which maps the top dono picks. Since there are a total of 14 maps with only 7 days, I had to at least average 2 maps per day. I was genuinely happy to start off with Zetsubou, the launch map on Black Ops 3, since last time when I completed the 14 days challenge, this was the final map. Roughly 4 months ago, when I first played this map, I never had a great impression. I found this map to be really confusing with how the beastie mode thing works, and sending out Pack-a-Punch was simply annoying. On top of that, anything you do, including building the wonder weapons, getting the Apothicon sword, was just a pain. Now let's not discuss further about how to upgrade the sword because that part was also tedious. But eventually, after playing the map more, I slowly started enjoying the map and decided to grind for a round 255 with classic gums only, which I eventually achieved after a hard 3 to 4 months of grinding. For around 100 grinds, I normally set up a bit differently. No need to worry about perfect blocks for any of these 100 grinds since time is quite tight, but it's always a bonus if you get lucky and actually get the perfect box. I normally always go for Jug first. Ideally, it's best to not have Jug at Waterfront. Facepalm myself because I literally have Jug at Waterfront because part of the high round strat is keeping the gate at the district close, so it'll just be more of a hassle to try to get set up. Next, I grabbed Stamina up to have increased mobility to be able to move faster. Then I grabbed Quick Revive. You know, no matter how fluent you are with the map, you can't risk not buying Quick for this challenge. Lastly, I bought Speed Cola. Normally for a 255 grind, I personally would not buy Speed as it's not required due to having the ability to attach fast mags ready on your wall buys. But for 100, I liked it better with Speed since I could reload and shoot the Apothicon quicker. So the first 50 rounds of doing the Waterfront strat is quite fast and easy. Literally all you need to do is spam your Apothicon and make sure to rotate your Gobblegum Psycho. There are only 3 spawns while doing this strat. Keep in mind that the chain trap does instant kill up to round 40, so you can also turn that on. Once you reach round 50, you will have to start comboing your Apothicon shots with the sword. A couple important things to keep in mind is that the bug round are every 5 to 9 rounders and the Margwa rounds are every 4 to 5 rounders. So once you hit the round 80 mark, this is where you're gonna have to do a bit of training and use your Kuda with Blast Furnace. I think this is the only map where Blast Furnace is actually essential, as you need it to charge up your Apothicon sword. The best AAT, aka Deadwire, I hope this is what everybody's gonna agree on, but for some reason just doesn't charge up your sword, which makes this not the ideal ammo mod for high rounds on this map. The Waterfront strat can be quite difficult to get used to, so it's important that you keep an eye on your shield and always try to grab a new one when you get the chance. Upgraded Arnies are a plus for this as it can give you drops as well as activate for a longer period of time. So we ended up finishing round 100 flawless, a little over 4 hours, which is considered to be quite slow since I normally reach it at about 3 hours and about 30 minutes, but who cares since the key thing about this challenge is trying to get every map done in one go without having to reset and waste even more time. Now off to the second map, we have Moon, which is another map that I managed to reach round 255 4 months ago. To start off, you always want to try to get Jug to spawn in and build enough points to be able to obtain it before taking the teleporter. I always like to get the RK5 a lot on this map since you can sort of just camp here for the early rounds and be able to rank up a tons of points. Next, I would make my way to the Tunnel 6 and grab the MP5 and sort of just camp there for another couple rounds. Cool thing about staying here is that no zombies would ever spawn from the door right next to me unless you purposely go through the door. After you have ranked up enough points, next thing is pretty much just hitting the box for the wave gun and Gerst device. Now, RNG for some reason is absolutely terrible on this map. There were games that I had played in the past where I couldn't even get set up past round 30. Luckily in this game, I managed to get my Gerstes by round 12. Honestly, I gotta have to admit that these special grenades are still my favorite in zombies. There They're honestly just way too good, and you can also jump through the portal and also teleport. Then I managed to get the wave gun by round 18, which was actually pretty good RNG for me. Now it's time to head over to Tunnel 11 and start doing the high round strategy. My perk setup was the exact same as my Shadows of Evil game, though Speed Cola is much more useful on this map since the wave gun reloads extremely slow. And for those who didn't know, Speed Cola also helps you to hack your drops quicker when using the hacking device. One thing that I find amazing about this map is generally how fast rounds fly despite without having any bonus rounds. This strategy is a 2-spawn strat, which requires you to spam your wave gun through the barrier, eliminating nearly all the zombies with every single shot. I think a lot of people actually dislike this map, mainly because of the astronaut and having to save the excavator every other couple rounds. But guess what? Snap on dead wire on your gun, and you can simply instant kill him on any round. The excavator is actually quite simple as well. Once you hear that sexy announcer, simply rush to the spawn, throw a Gurge, unhack the panel, and jump to the teleporter to make a return. Don't forget guys, Speed Cola helps make this progress quicker. The Tunnel 11 strat is pretty much the same for the whole run. Just make sure you try to space out your drops so that you can replenish your wave gun ammo by using the hacker. Since the wave gun doesn't give any drops, if at any time you find yourself low on ammo, you will have to do a bit of training with dead wire on your Kuda. This map is one of the fastest round 100 on Black Ops 3, so it's quite easy to achieve once you get to know the basics of this map. And we were able to finish off this map with another flawless run at about 3 hours and 30 minutes. At this moment, I was actually feeling okay, not too fatigued, although we had been grinding for nearly 8 hours without any breaks. Next map was supposedly to be Kino, which I was quite excited for because it was going to be another fast map. But at the most unexpected timing, chat overtook the top dono and picked Nacht or Toten next. I was like, no! I was not prepared for this because I knew that this map was going to be at least a 15+ hour grind, and there was no way of me being able to finish off this map within the first day. So I had to plan things out and hopefully try to get Nacht out of the way by the end of day 2. Moving on to the third map now, Nacht or Untoten, where zombies all began. At this moment, although we had already completed 2 maps within the first half of day 1, I was still not very confident on whether I could complete this challenge. Remember, in order to be on the right track, we must average at least 2 maps per day, and Nacht is a crawl. The early rounds are quite easy since all you need to do is to try to rack up as much points as possible, to try to get your 4 perks from the Wonder Fizz, and obtain the Thunder Gun from the box. The 4 perks I've chose for this run was Jug, Stam, Quick, and Meal Kick. A lot of people may not be aware of this, but if you took out the ray gun or the Mark II from the box, you can no longer be able to obtain the other one. That being said, having Meal Kick allows me to store one of those 2 weapons in my hand, which eliminates the odds of getting them from the box so that I could have a slightly greater odd of getting back the Thunder Gun. Part of the reason why this map is generally super slow is due to spawns and box trades. The spawns are so slow and sometimes makes me wonder if the zombies are glitched out. The first 60 rounds on this map is surprisingly quite fast due to not needing to do any box trades. For the strategy, you can either use the Mark II or the Thunder Gun to kill. I would trade the zombies in the help room and kill them off near the stairs. After that, quickly run to repair a couple borders at the window right next to the Kuda. This will delay the spawns from this window, which surprisingly makes this training strat a bit easier. Also, just make sure you cycle through your gobble gun for that alchemical. In this game, I actually got pretty lucky with my drops and gumballs, so I think I ended up doing my very first box trade on round 66. Box trades are quite tedious on this map because sometimes trades can take up to an hour depending on RNG. After 5 hours into the game, I was starting to feel quite tired. I believe I took an hour break, went to go take a shower, hoping it would have waken me up, but turned out it just made me feel more sleepy. I wanted to try to hit round 80 by the end of day 1, but decided to end it off on round 68. Up to this point, I restreamed for 17 hours, I didn't want to go take it down, and ended up having to restart due to fatigue. So this is the start of day 2 of the challenge. At the end of day 1, I think I ended up sleeping for about 6 hours-ish. Wanted to sleep more, but couldn't because we had business to deal with. Although we were already at round 70, we weren't even halfway through completing this map. I think most maps, round 70 to 75 is the halfway mark to round 100, but for this map, I would say roughly round 80 due to box trades. My goal today was to complete Nacht, and hopefully if we have time, we could try to complete the next map depending on which the top dono picks. Rounds at 80 plus started to feel very long as it required at least 1 box trade per round if you didn't have alchemical. Round 90 plus was even worse because I was averaging about 2 box trades per round. Up to now, I was still flawless. Up until round 91, I made a very rookie mistake. The one zombie from the window got me stuck. I even noticed that zombie right before I did the U-turn. I think when I did my 14 days challenge attempting this map, I also took my first down due to the exact same way as well. After taking this down, Nacht can be a bit difficult in trying to rebuy back your perks. Luckily I had in plain sight, but I still had to be extra careful, because getting a game over with 13 hours clocked into the game would also mean the challenge is over, because I couldn't afford to lose 13 hours when time is already so tight. After getting back my perks, I was finally able to calm down a little. I know we were only around 91, not a very big deal, but knowing that if I choked on 91 would have led to a challenge over puts a lot of pressure on my shoulder. Rounds were starting to average about 20 plus minutes per round. At this moment, I just wanted to get over with this map and move on to the next. On round 99, I calculated that I need to do a total of 3 box trades, but we got so lucky with the final shot and managed to save a potential 1 hour trade. Another box trade though. That sucks. Yo, Inns, what's good, man? Merry Christmas to you. Oh, dude, perfect timing. Holy smoke. And right there, we finally finished off the longest map for this challenge. It took us 17.5 hours, an hour faster than my previous attempt on my 14 days challenge. It was very unfortunate we couldn't end off this run flawless, just had 1 down, but that being said, I was so ready to move on to the next map. So after grinding the remaining 12 hours on Nacht on day 2, I actually felt quite drained. It might have just been because I only slept for 6 hours, or maybe because it was just how boring the atmosphere of Nacht was. But I was genuinely happy to have moved on to the Eisendrache because it's categorized as another easy and fast map for round 100. But that being said, I will never forget what happened to me on September 12th, 2022.
Alright, this might be a Panzer round, so I gotta make my way over here, but this might be the last Panzer round. If I don't get it this round, then it'll be on 255, but I'm still gonna try to kill him one more time. And there we go, that's the last Panzer round, boys, alright? This is the last one you're gonna see for the rest of the game here. This is the final one here. Oh, you gotta be shitting me. Wow, it actually crashed.
Ever since that happened, this map sort of just traumatized me. It used to be one of my favorite maps on Block 3 also, but not after how I got so unlucky. Here's a fact, reaching round 254 and either crashing or dying is way more rare than actually hitting round 255. Anyways, setting up on dirt is quite simple. I usually go for the lightning bow as I think it's the best out of the 4. Feed the 3 dragons, grab the bow, shoot the dragon on the tower. I actually thought that this was a peacock for some reason. Next, we shoot the 3 bonfires. For some reason, I always have trouble shooting the one from double tap. You for sure have aimbot if you can manage to pull this off in 1 try.
Oh wow, 1 try?
After the bonfire step is completed, we did the gravity wall run in the pyramid room. Then we went to go charge up the souls and reshot the 3 bonfire with the charged electric shot. Once that was completed, we went to go pick up the thunder arrow at the death ray and we were ready to move on to the final step, which is basically just getting kills and charging up souls at the pyramid. So once you have the lightning bow, the shield, and also the rags, I'd head over to the upstairs at the church room to begin the high round strat. Keep in mind, you will have to keep the doors upstairs closed. The perks I've chosen for this run was Jug, Double Tap, Quick, and Electric Cherry. You won't be needing Stamp for this map, mainly because you're going to be camping throughout the entire run. Electric Cherry is essential for high round on this map, because later on when you're out of ammo in your bow, you will have to rely on AATs plus rags in order to progress through the rounds. The Electric Cherry can help with stunning the zombies, and I'm glad that this underrated perk is quite useful for this map. Double Tap is also quite essential, as it not only helps shoot your death machine quicker, but also helps activate your AATs faster. The first 80 round doing this strat is extremely fast and easy. You're pretty much just spamming your lightning bow and cycling through your gobblegum for that alchemical. One advice for this strategy is try not to walk over the stairs unless you're going to go grab a drop, because by doing so, it significantly slows down the spawns when you cross over the line. Another thing you want to keep in mind is that Panzer rounds are every 4 to 5 rounders, and Dog round I think it's every 7 to 13 rounders. A lot of people tend to struggle with killing the Panzer, as it is indeed more powerful than Optimus Prime. The best way to take care of them is right before the round start, make your way to the power room and wait at this entrance. As the Panzer spawns, quickly activate the death ray and shoot him at the core with the HVK. I learned this the hard way because I've always been told to shoot him at the head, but the Panzer version on Dur is a bit different than the Origins one. Also, make sure you have rapid fire, fast mags, and grip attached on your HVK, and also have double tap. Otherwise, dude's gonna step back on earth and gonna try to melt you down. After 2 hours into the game, I felt quite tired and decided to pause on round 65. At the time, I felt that the progression on day 2 wasn't that great compared to day 1, because we only grinded for 12 hours on Nacht and 2 hours on Dur, meaning that it was only a 14-hour grind. I also wasn't able to average 2 maps per day by the end of day 2. Hence, not having the ability to choose the order of the map and having to do Nacht so early really screwed me over. So, coming back at the start of day 3, 3, I believe I slept 7 hours on day 2 since the grind was slightly shorter, but what that also meant was I needed to grind even longer today, hoping to get this map completed plus another 2. The relief feeling was that we were pretty much halfway finished with this map. Rounds were flying by really quick with how overpowered the lightning bow is. At round 90 plus was where I had to rely a little bit on the electric cherry strat. This strat may seem very easy, but trying to perfect your timing with electric cherry can be quite difficult because there is a cooldown of 4 reloads, and often at times you will get overrun by the zombies if you aren't doing it right. Then on round 99, I managed to get really good RNG with the dog round, so we ended up finishing dirt at 4 hours and 17 minutes flawless, which is actually just a millisecond faster than my Shadows of Evil game. Up next, we have the map Verruckt, which also stands for crazy in German. This map is classified as one of the hardest maps on Black Ops 3. Remember how I mentioned I wanted to get dirt completed plus 2 more maps by the end of day 3? I guess this ain't happening anymore. From the bright side, this is still the start of day 3, so I was quite awake. Verruckt is quite a long grind for round 100, since you don't have access to Pack-a-Punch nor bonus rounds. Although I have reached round 100 plus multiple times on Verruckt, this is still one of those maps where you need to practice on, otherwise you will get rusty pretty quick. With all the narrow tight spaces, it's also pretty easy to go down. Luckily, setting up on Verruckt is fairly easy. The perks I've chosen for this run was Jug, Quick, Speed, and Stam. Speed is quite important on this map, mainly because the waffle reload is way too damn slow. And for those of you who are a Wheatus Wine fanboy out there, I personally try to stay away from that perk, because it makes me feel like I'm playing Mega Gobblegum. Besides, Wheatus is quite whack on this map, since the waffle doesn't give any drops. Box RNG is surprisingly so good on this map. Getting the Mark II and the waffle felt like winning $1 from the lottery ticket. I also set up the max ammo Easter egg in case if I needed to replenish ammo through the mid rounds later on. Once I was set up, I made my way over to the speed coder room with the doors kept closed. This strategy is literally a 2-spawn strat, just like the one on Moon, and it's ridiculously fast. I usually stay here up to round 50, but the longer the better. Sadly, I ended up taking my first down on round 33 because I tried a grenade counter reload, which is actually a quicker method than knifing or double tap weapon change. So I ended up resetting my game. Up to this point, this was the first reset that I had to do. Luckily, it was only 37 minutes wasted and not 3 hours. I managed to get set up pretty fairly quick and got right back into speed coder strat again. An hour into the game, we were nearly at round 50 already. I tried to stay in this room till round 50, but I accidentally messed up when I popped my alchemical and not knowing that I only had 1 bullet in my waffle, since it's better if you pop it when you still got 2 shots. So I ended up opening up the door because it was not worth going down. Once the speed coda door is open, it's time to finally move on to the high round strat known as the double trap strat. This strat requires you to train zombies between the 2 traps. The one, the double tap, is insanely broken because you can literally just stand right next to the trap and all of the zombies coming from the corner and from the windows just gets melted. Next, you will have to make your way over to the speed coda trap. This one isn't as good as the double tap trap, but still kills a decent amount of zombies due to the fast spawns. On round 57, I ended up taking my very first down. I guess the zombie's tiny third hand just decided to win world me because this down was insanely fast. Made me felt like I was playing Cobra zombies but with no armor. I managed to get back my perks and back in the zone. The rounds at this point were still cruising. Wish that there were dog rounds on this map, but not complaining. Then on round 72, I ended up taking another down, and this is why the waffle is so unreliable. Not only does it only kill 10 zombies per shot, but you need to wait a second or 2 before they actually die, meaning that you also can't run through their body. At this point, I was like, okay, I need to step up my game from here, but the pressure is real. Luckily, I was able to rebuy back my perks and continue the grind up to round 80. At this time, I was feeling a little lightheaded and decided I'd go take a quick nap. Since we were only 7 hours into day 3, I still had enough time to nap and come back and resume off the rest of day 3. After returning back from a 5-hour nap, we were back again on the grind. We still have roughly 10 hours-ish before the end of day 3, so it was more than enough time for me to finish up Verruckt. That is if I don't choke, and perhaps finish up majority of the next map. For some reason, taking that 5-hour nap really woke me up. At first I felt like it was a bad idea because earlier I only grinded for 7 hours on day 3 and I really did not want to oversleep. But I got to say the second session of day 3 went a lot more smooth than the first. Wasn't really making as much mistakes and the timing of the traps were a lot better. So on round 99, I had a very scary red screen moment. I had to pop in plain sight, and in case for those who aren't familiar with the waffle, if you get a red screen, by shooting the waffle will only extend the red screen longer, which is awful on this map because you kind of have to shoot if you're stuck. At the end, we were able to finish off the round 100 on Verruckt at slightly over 8 hours. Unfortunately, I had 2 downs, which is the most downs I've had between the maps that I have completed so far. But from the bright side, I was extremely relieved to have completed this map, as it is the most difficult one within this challenge. The next map we have is Kino der Toten, and I'm glad to see this because it's everyone's favorite OG map. Don't hate me for this, guys, but honestly, if we were to remove nostalgic out of the way, Kino is hella overrated, and I mean it. About 6 months ago, Kino was my very first map that I had I've reached round 255, so it's always been very memorable each time I play this map. Setting up on this map is quite simple, as the main thing you need is to get the Thunder Gun. I actually got so lucky and was able to pull off the Thunder Gun from the box on the second hit, meaning that I was able to secure the perfect box for this run. What I meant by perfect box is you are not moving the box, meaning that you won't be getting fire sale drops as part of your cycle, which contributes to getting max ammos more often. The perks I ran for this game were quick, jug, speed, and stamp. Usually I would go with either meal kick or double tap over speed, but since this round was only going to be a round 100 grind, speed cola is just way more beneficial when using the Thunder Gun while doing the alley strat. The alley strat is insanely fast up to round 80, pretty much just spamming your Thunder Gun and rotating your Gobble Gum for that alchemical. For secondary, you want to try to get the VMP and slap on that wire, as it's the closest wall buy and it's easy to take off the last couple zombies on the round. One thing to keep an eye out while doing the strat is always try to look up before crossing over here. Simply because if a zombie jumps down, you will get instant stuck and usually will take it down. When grabbing death machines, you will need to be extra careful since you don't have double tap. It's best to grab a death machine and make your way to VMP to camp and shoot at both directions. Apparently you can also wall band the walls with the death machine, but it's only more visible if you have instant kill. With this strategy, you will find yourself cruising through the round 50s, round 60s, round 70s, up until close to even round 80s. You will have to switch over to the gate strat and will have to do a bit of training with that wire on your VMP, as you will realize that a full Thunder Gun will not get you through the round. So on round 79 was when I decided to open up the gate and move on to the actual high round strat. I usually just call the strat the M8 strat. I actually find this strat to be more chill than the alley strat because 1/3 of the time you will have the trap turn on and you're basically AFK. For some reason, when you're standing here at this spot, the zombies coming up from the stairs tend to run through the trap thinking that it's a closer path to get to you. As long as you have ammo on your Thunder Gun, you can make semi-trains here and shoot your Thunder Gun. Keep doing this and alternate when the trap is ready. Once you're running low on ammo, you will have to use the entire room to train. One thing to keep an eye out for is the window at the corner, because sometimes zombies tend to spawn in last second when your guard is down. Good thing about being in this room is that the Gobble Gum machine and the ammo rebuy for the M8 is right next to you. So there shouldn't be any reason why you would need to leave this room unless if you take it down, which I think you'll do fine as long as you have the Thunder Gun out while training. I really wanted to try to get Kino done before the end of day 3. Unfortunately, on round 94 was the start of day 4. Guess I should have taken a couple less pee breaks. Then on round 99, we couldn't get lucky with the dog rounds like we did on Dirt. Otherwise, it would have been a sub 5 hours, but in the end, we managed to pull up another flawless round 100. Up next, we have Origins, which in my opinion is another one of those maps that I find to be extremely overrated. When it comes to zombies, I personally don't follow the storyline and neither was interested in the Easter eggs. I tend to only focus on high rounds and prefer maps which doesn't require an overwhelming learning process. As most of you would understand, Origins can be quite difficult for someone new to learn. Keep in mind, I've only played this map a handful amount of times, and when I actually attempted my 14 days challenge, it was my very first time ever hitting round 100 on this map. So going into this game again, I was a bit nervous, I must say. But to begin, I grabbed the shovel in spawn and quickly tried to turn on Gen 1 to start off. Then I made my way to turn on Gen 3 and then Gen 2. Afterwards, I headed over to turn on the most important gen, which is Gen 4, so I could get Jug. Then on round 8 was the first encounter of the Panzer. From what I have heard, apparently trip mines can instant kill Panzers in the high rounds, which I haven't gotten the chance to test that out yet, but soon when I decide to attempt a round 255 on this map, I'm going to have to look into this. So the main staff that I was going for was the Ice Staff, which I think is the best out of the 4. Every time I build this, I always end up having to ask chat on what the steps were, because I always tend to forget. And in case if anyone did not know, I am colorblind, so when doing the orb step can be a little bit slower for me. In this game, I have grabbed the G-Strike and built the shield at the center room as I will be doing the fire tunnel strat. For perks, I have chosen Jug, Stam, Quick, and Speed Cola. I was able to obtain a 5th perk from the spawn room challenge, which granted me double tap and a backup max ammo. Stam may not seem that essential for this strat, but it definitely helps you sprint if you ever find yourself running on the mud. And on top of that, it helps makes it easier to cycle through the Gobble Gum when going into the spawn room. The round 100 strat on this map is quite fast as you're simply just spamming your Ice Stab and cycling through your Gobble Gum for that alchemical. Couple things you want to watch out for are drops, panzers, and knowing how the Templar zombies work. For drops, you always want to try not to shoot your Ice Stab too close to the pile of skull spawn until you get all 4 drops, since drops may potentially get stuck inside, but you really only have to worry about this once you hit at least round 50. The next thing is being ready for Panzer, because you will need to have Ice Stab charge shot ready up to be able to kill him. Otherwise, he can down you pretty quick since I didn't do the Panzer helmet. Lastly, for Templar zombies, I usually just call them the Samurai zombies. I don't know why, they just kind of look like they're Samurai zombies. This at first was a bit complicated on how these special zombies work, but basically what I do is actually let them take away all 6 generators and then turn back only 3. What that does is the Templar zombies would not spawn in when you have less than 4 generators on. So that being said, if you ever needed a max ammo, you can simply just switch one on and they will guarantee spawn in at the beginning of next round. Then I believe it's every 2 to 6 or 3 to 6 rounders before they spawn in again. Once you begin to understand how this map really works, you will find yourself just cruising through the rounds as the strategy doesn't require much movement. And to be honest, I actually find the ice set to be quite satisfying to use, so I didn't really find this strat to be boring at all. I guess if you compare anything to Nacht, you know, nothing is really that boring, right? Throughout the whole game, I pretty much was just doing the same fire tunnel strat, and I was only planning on sticking with this one too, since I haven't really tried any other strat. Ammo really shouldn't be an issue up to at least round 90. That is when you really have to start keeping track of your drop cycle and your gobblegum cycle. I was aware I still had the backup max ammo in spawn, but I wanted to try my best to save that until either round 98 or 99. I was getting quite a bit of a bad RNG with my max ammos, but glad I got lucky on 98 with the Templar round, since I think it was a 3 rounder. Then on round 99, I was sort of forced to try the training strat down below at the statue. Did this for about half the round, then decided to finally proceed to grab the max ammo from spawn. Ammo was coming down to pretty low, but bang, we managed to finish off Origins with another flawless run at a little over 5 hours. So up to this point, we have been grinding for nearly 15 hours in game time. Probably slap on another 1 hour for pausing and reading the chat. As a summary for you guys, we grinded the remaining 4 hours on Verruckt. Kino took a little over 5 hours, and then Origins took a little over 5 hours as well. One important thing I want to mention is that although when we finished Kino, it transitioned from day 3 to day 4, so it may seem like it's another fresh day for me, but in reality, I did not sleep. But don't worry, I was staying hydrated and took, I believe, a 15-minute eating break somewhere within 2 days grind. I gotta say, I was pretty satisfied with the process that we made on this stream, since we managed to finish off 2.5 maps, but that did not stop me from launching up the next map, the Giant. So I never really understood why this map was renamed as the Giant. I mean, it's such a small map. I feel like the Tiny would have been a better reclassified name. The OG Dirties from either World War or Black Ops 1 is actually one of my favorite maps, but the snow atmosphere on this remaster for some reason just draws me off. To start off, you always want to try to make sure that Stam is spawned in. There's a couple ways to determine whether it's Stam or Deadshot, but if you actually walk up to this crack and jump, if you notice a black dot, then that indicates it's Stam. I believe this trick only works if you're playing offline, and restarting for Stam RNG can be quite terrible. You will be really surprised. Luckily, setting up on this map is quite simple. You just need to rack up enough points to get the Wonder Waffle and Monkey Bomb for Stam. Once you get the Monkey Bomb, you throw them into 3 teleporters, then you teleport and hit that big fat button. The perks I've chosen for this run were Jug, Quick, Speed Cola, and Stam. I normally would rock double tap over speed for this map, but since we're only going for round 100, we will be relying more heavily on the Waffle. Once you're set up, you want to make your way and simply camp at spawn with the door to the left of spawn kept closed, since it will be required for the later high round strat. The strat is actually really good for the Waffle, since when the zombies try to climb up from either side, it takes a couple seconds, so it's really easy to be able to chain them with the shots. Did you know that a singular Waffle shot can chain up to a max of 10 zombies? Now you know! I'm genuinely curious if anyone here remembers watching Bill and I in the Science Guy when they were still in elementary or high school. Also, you want to try to pack your RK5 and have dead wire, or can use fireworks on the HVK. Rounds are surprisingly fast on this map. We might have gotten sub 1 hour for round 50 if the monkey RNG wasn't that terrible and if I wasn't so tired. You could probably tell just by looking at my face during the time of the stream. So this was when I decided I am done for the stream. At this point, I believe we still had 15 hours left on day 4. So what I had on plan was to sleep for roughly 6 hours and try to finish off this map and get set up on the next map before the start of day 5. So after napping for 6 hours-ish, I took a shower and had a quick lunch. We were once back again on the grind. At this point, we were still on day 4 with 7 maps completed, so I knew that we were still behind on schedule as we needed to average 2 maps per day. The fact that we were already more than halfway through the 7-day cycle, I was still not very confident on whether I was able to complete this challenge. Nacht honestly really screwed me over since day 1, and what's even more crazy is that my Nacht game took longer than my Shadows plus Moon plus the Eisendrache and plus my Kino game all together. But from the bright side, I was really relieved that we completed the longest map and also the hardest map, which is Verruckt, off the list. The rounds were progressing pretty well. Up until round 80 was when I had to switch over to training and using the waffle. My intention was to try to keep the waffle as long as I could before trading in for the Shiva per turn, which was at the end of round 92. Then we proceeded doing the double AAT strat. At this point, it sucks not having double tap because the Shiva shoots way too slow and it would have sped up the AATs. Luckily, I just had to train for less than 6 rounds doing this, and we were able to make it to round 100 with another flawless at 5 hours and 38 minutes. The only thing that sucks is that we weren't able to get the 4-rounder dogs at 99. Moving on to the 8th map, we have Zetsubou no Shima, one of the maps that I was least looking forward to since it's categorized as one of my least favorite maps. When I did the 14 days challenge, it was my first time playing Zets, and trying to learn how to set up was so damn confusing. But I was glad to have the chat once again to guide me through the steps. For this run, I was not planning on doing the Easter eggs since I didn't know how. Also, trying to get the extra perk slot from the plants required good RNG, so I did not want to bother with that. In this case, I actually had to reset my game a couple times because I was going to do the quest to obtain the 5th perk, so just had to make sure that it was an easy quest. Firstly, we went to turn on the temporary power from both A and B side. Then we headed to the bunker, and apparently if we can manage to kill these zombies quick enough, it prevents a trasher from spawning. Then we headed down to the stinky sewer water and switched on the actual power. Next, we tried to complete a couple of the skulls and turn on the pack-a-punch. On round 16, we were finally able to trap Spider-Man, which gave us access to the KT4. The intention of me using the KT4 was mainly to try to get the imprint plants, as well as have access for the spider boss fight. The perks I chose for this run were Jug, Quick, double tap, and stamp. Pretty straightforward. Next, we went to go grab the creepy looking alien vs Predator skull down at the room, which will be doing the high round strat in. I gotta say, I love this movie series, and if you guys haven't watched the most recent Predator movie they made called The Prey, I'd highly recommend it. Next, I went and proceeded with the spider boss fight in order to obtain the Widow's Wine at their P Fountain. Electric Cherry would have been the better play over Widow's, but as you guys know, 99% is always dead shot, and I don't have time to reset hours for that. In this game, I managed to get extremely lucky with the imprint plant because during my 14 days grind, it took me nearly 50 rounds and I only got 1 imprint. I believe once you upgrade the KT4, you will have a better odd. I'm not 100% sure on this one though. On top of that, from one of the plants, I somehow got another free perk bottle, so I ended up running 6 perks with speed coda, which was really great. So on round 25 was when it transitioned to day 5, which wasn't too bad because we were nearly set up and we managed to complete 8 maps by the end of day 4, finally being able to average 2 maps per day. Roughly on round 30 was when I was finally set up and ready for the Skull Room strat. It took me over an hour just to get set up, so I can't imagine trying to do the Easter egg every time to set up for a round 255 grind. I traded the KT4 away for the MA with turn while having my primary as the Vesper with Deadwire. Some players may prefer using the ICR instead, but it's just personal preference. You also want to make sure you have the shield built at B station and have the gas mask built at A station. The Skull Room strat can be quite difficult to train as the spawns are ridiculously fast and how frequent the spiders tend to spawn in. Sometimes I wonder to myself if there are more spiders than zombies in this room, and their movements are also quite unpredictable. But luckily, this strat is really fast, especially with the power of the skull. One good advice for this strat is when training near the wall, you want to try to hug the wall as tight as you can, since the zombies tend to spawn from the ground, which can randomly get you stuck. On round 72, I ended up taking my very first down. It's ridiculous how strong the trashers are. The fact that Widow's activated and I still instant down. Luckily, I have 2 imprint plants, so I wasn't really worried about double downing at this moment. We were able to buy back my perks without an issue and continue the strat. Then on round 92, I ended up taking my second down from the trashers once again. I went to go buy back Jug. I was trying to make my way to the zipline after that, but of course, due to lack of knowledge of this map, I thought I was going the wrong way, but apparently it was the right way, which costed me my 3rd down. Since I died without quick revive, that also meant I would be revived from one of my 2 imprint plants. Then after 30 seconds getting back into the strat, I once again down for the 4th time to the trashers. The trashers has probably earned a predator missile kill streak at this point. I was starting to get pissed off with this map. Sorry, excuse my language. And because I was revived from my imprint plant, apparently it counts as a quick revive purchase. Hence, I have no more quick revives left. With all of these rough situations happening in this one singular round, you would think that the round is almost over, and what you're about to witness next is the worst thing that has ever happened to me in zombies. So basically, I got robbed. After getting revived from my imprint plant, not only does it give you back the same perks and gobblegum you had at the time you imprinted, but it also gives you back the same amount of points. I had like 500,000 points, and now I was left with only 1,000 points and 2 trashers remaining. I decided to go turn on the blade trap, but the trasher decided to pull a Dignit move from Pokemon. I knew I misplayed here because I should have made sure they did not respawn, and I believe I could have crouched under the trap, but I wasn't too sure since I didn't want to risk it at the time. Now here's the gross part. After turning on the trap, I had only 70 points left. The round was left with only 2 trashers. I tried killing them with my Vesper and M8, empty out both of my guns, and couldn't even pop one of their pimples, which is crazy. Afterwards, I went to go grab the max ammo from the quest, but decided that it was probably not a good idea to try to empty out the guns again. At this time, I had to call SOS and had the chat helping me out. I was given advices that I could try meleeing with my shield, but that sounds to me more like a suicide mission. People were asking me to upgrade my shield to the electric version, which wasn't possible at the time because I was missing one more quest, and I don't think the upgraded shield could stand against the trashers either. Then there was another advice asking me to somehow get my skull charged up, but that wasn't possible either, as there were no more zombies except the trashers. I had someone ask me to pop my in plain sight and just keep knifing the trasher. Yeah, this ain't Cold War zombies, you know. Then I had a couple people in the chat who gave me the advice on crouching down at every perk machine for that free 100 points and try to rebuild as many windows as possible. And lucky but not so lucky, we capped out at 960 points, 40 points short on being able to activate the trap. One person from chat told me to try trip mine and grenades to make points, but that didn't work. Then I had someone ask me to crouch down at a pack-a-punch machine and see if I could get 100 points. I mean, that's the first time I've ever heard of that before. Then I had someone who gave me a pretty good advice, which was to head down to the bunker and knife the mummies with the zombies inside. But sadly, I already knifed every bag when I was setting up pack. Then someone gave me the idea to try going to crouch at Widow's Wine, even though there isn't exactly a perk machine there, and things got really ugly down there.
I can't prone. No. No, it's not working. No. Oh my god. Woo. Shield badge now. Might as well try it. Oh my god, I can't get out. Chat, I can't get out.
Worst case scenario, I still have one more imprint plant, which might have granted me a fully charged skull, but after I was rewatching back the gameplay, I realized that when I imprinted for the second time, I barely had my skull charged, meaning that even if I used another monster reborn again, it would have made no difference. At this time, all hopes were lost. Chat was suggesting me to hit the box for 950, leaving me with 10 points. I think the only possible weapon that could save this run was the KT4. At this point, I nearly have better odds winning a single number bet on roulette instead. Then, right when I was about to hit the box since all hopes were lost, big shout out to Vida for coming in clutch with the highest IQ and suggesting me to look around the entire map for any gobblegum machines with webs cover, because apparently if you slash one off, you get 10 points. Then somehow we miraculously found one covering webs down at the bunker, which led us to only 30 points to go. At first I didn't notice these webs since all the ones outside were web free, so I didn't think this plan was going to work. Then we found another one in the bunker across the HVK, then another one at B station, then lastly we found the final one at A station, which granted us just enough for 1,000 points. Now it's time to hit the trap again. I had to make sure I do it right this time, otherwise it would have been a game over. After 1 hour being stuck on this round, I was so glad to see round 93, as I don't think there could have been any worse scenario than what I just went through. After clutching up that round, we proceeded back to the strat and ended up wrapping up Zets at round 100 at nearly 7 hours with 4 downs. I must admit this was my worst play out of all the maps I've done. Somehow I ended up doing better on my 14-day challenge with only 1 down, and it was during my first playthrough on Zets. Of course what happened back on round 92 was out of the ordinary, but from the bright side, one thing I learned from this game is make sure you only imprint when you have enough points. Up next, we have the map Ascension. Ain't I glad to have an easy map next. So up to this point, we have been grinding for over 12 hours straight. I don't know why, but at the time, I felt way more tired compared to when I pulled my 18-hour stream, which included round 80 to 100 on Verruckt, finishing Kino, finishing Origins, and then Giant up to round 50. I feel like the main reason was due to stressing out on round 92 from Zets and only averaging 5 to 6 hours of shitty sleeps in my past 5 days. Trust me, normally I'd be okay with sleeping 5 hours and getting through my my days, but knowing that there's 50,000 plus zombies just waiting to be slayed when I wake up gives me nightmares. So I was actually debating whether I should go take another nap since we still have roughly 17 hours left on day 5, but I felt that the progress we made within a 12-hour stream was pretty awful, mainly due to losing over an hour-ish on Zets, and since Ascension is considered more of an easier map, I decided to try to grind halfway, so roughly around 70. Back on Black Ops 1, Ascension was the first map that has ever introduced the special grenades known as Gersh devices as well as PhD Flopper. In addition to that, this was the first map that I have ever reached round 100 on, and since then, this has always been a top 5 map for me. Generally, when you're going for high round on Ascension, you would try to keep both doors closed that leads to Jug and try to get it from the monkey round. But as for this challenge, you really don't have time to wait to try to reset, so I decided to open up Jug door from Power Room. Setting up on this map is quite easy, as well as you simply only need to get Gershes and the Thunder Gun. The perks I ran were Stamp, Jug, Speed Cola, and Quick, mainly because we are going to be relying heavily on the Thunder Gun for the first 80 rounds or so. Once you are set up, you want to make your way to the Power Room, but make sure you have the gate near the stairs closed. This strat is extremely fast and easy to do, so I decided to go into autopilot mode because I was so burnt out. And what I meant by autopilot is I'm putting in very little effort on this game and trying to sleep with my eyes open, since I'm simply just spamming the Thunder Gun. Then on round 45, I ended up taking my first down due to the Thunder Gun pulling a BO1 bug on me, which was actually really bad because I purposely let the monkeys took away the first 2 quick revive so that I could keep the third one permanently since the machine ain't going to be there anymore. Afterwards, I went to buy back my perks and decided to buy Meal Kick as my 4th perk since I will be needing double AATs later on. The rounds at this point were just cruising nearly a sub 1 hour around 50. Then at round 60ish, you are going to have to train a semicircle on the right side of the window every time you shoot a shot, just to prolong the ammo longer. The best way to deal with monkey rounds is right at the beginning, make your way to Meal Kick and turn the trap on. After hearing all 6 monkeys has spawned in, just make sure none of the monkeys that spawned from the KM44 side were heading up to Meal Kick, then you should be safe to jump down the hole and head over to Stamp. Most of the time, you should have no issues protecting your perks, but this is assuming you have both Jug doors closed. In the round 70s, you will begin to realize ammo is becoming an issue, so you will need to alternate between the spawn room and power room strat. For this strat, you want to have Shiva with Deadwire and KM44 with Turn. You could pick the RK5 over the KM44, but I just think for 100 the KM44 is better since you won't really need to rebuy ammo. On round 76, I decided to let the monkeys take away my Speed Cola as I will be rocking double tap for faster AATs. The only time I ever switch back to power room strat is when I have full ammo on my Thunder Gun or have Alchemical. What you want to try to do is use up both Alchem and save ideally 12 bullets in your Thunder Gun, then throw a Gersh, teleport, and make your way back to spawn. Those 12 bullets are saved mainly for the monkey rounds. Another thing to keep in mind when doing the power room strat is that you want to be cautious of death machine drops as they can get you killed, especially when you don't have Speed Cola. I kind of always wish that the Annihilator would serve a purpose in some ways because it's always taunting me to use it. But we all know the truth that it's such a pea shooter and it hurts to admit that even Deadshot serves a better purpose. I was supposedly going to call it a night at either round 70 or 80, but you know that's what every other high rounders always say. I'll just play 5 more rounds. Then after that, okay, 5 more rounds. And somehow we autopiloted to round 99 where I got extremely lucky to get another Alchemical, which allowed me to spam through the rest of the game doing the power room strat, allowing us to wrap it off at a little over 4 hours with 1 down. So back in the jungle we go, we have Shangri La next, which is one of the OG maps that was classified as one of the most difficult map, and even up to today, it still lives up to its name. I gotta say, I was glad to be able to take a nap before starting up this map because oh boy, with how I felt when I was playing Ascension, I wouldn't even be able to pull through round 20 on Shang. To start off on Shang, I quickly buy the doors to make sure Jug is not on the waterfall side because you're pulling a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible if you're trying to rebuy back your perk at this location. I'm extremely not a fan of the mud on Shang as well because you literally cannot even jump. Can you imagine Shang's mud replacing Origin's mud? Oh god. Anyways, for weapon wise, you will need a baby gun or aka 31-79 JGB215. Sounds to me like a bunch of random numbers and letters just fused together to create this name, but I don't know why. I kinda like it. You will also need a Mark II as well for the early 40 rounds and monkey bombs in case if you do go down. Typically, Shang has 2 strategies you can do for high rounds. rounds. Most people on the Black Ops 3 version would stick with the Kuda room strat. However, because I'm a pussycat, I didn't get the chance to learn how to do the strat yet. Also, setting up takes a bit longer, so I decided to stick with the slower but safer strat, which I usually just call it the figure 8 strat. Up to this point, we still had roughly 4 hours left before day 6, so my intention was to try to reach halfway point by the end of day 5. The early round version of this strat is actually really different than what you normally see for the other maps. For the first 40 rounds or so, you can basically just stand right in front of this debris and simply just shoot your Mark II towards the right side. The zombies spawning from the left side tend to take the longer route to get to you because they try to do some fat. Just make sure you don't move too forward from the debris. The perks I chose for this round were Stam, Jug, Speed, and Quick. I didn't pick Double Tap this time because we won't be relying too much on the AATs. On round 37, I ended up trading away my Mark II for the KM44 since it will be required later in the high round, and I also needed to get monkeys. Then on round 38, I ended up taking my first down, which is fairly early in the game, and I was actually debating on whether to reset or not, but at the end, I decided to stick with the run because I'm a stubborn man. Due to not having double tap, Firework AAT didn't activate in time, and I ended up messing up with my weapon switch there. After buying back my perks, as we are now in the round 40s, it's finally time to kick some babies. I know this sounds really wrong, but for some reason, it's really satisfying when the baby zombies gets kicked 10 meters away. If you find yourself struggling with this strat, you could substitute Widow's Wine over Stamp, which significantly benefits when doing the camping strat. Another thing to keep in mind is that the monkeys do not come over in this area for the drops if you have this debris closed. Therefore, the only way to get extra perks is preferably in the lower rounds and stay over at the bridge side. One common scenario to down easily when doing this strat is when you kick the zombies and it gives you a death machine drop. Simply because without double tap, it's pretty much a pea shooter and you won't really have time to cancel and switch to your baby gun in time. And that's exactly what happened to me on round 72, which unfortunately led to my second down. After getting back my perks, I had to alternate to the other version of the strat, which required me to start from the top and slowly make my way down, make a left turn, and go around this large boulder, then shoot the zombies either with my KM44 with fireworks, or you can baby gun them. The only time you can switch back to the camping strat is if you have an alchemical or if you have a max baby gun, but I usually prefer to keep a full gun for safety shots unless I know for sure an alchemical is coming up. Up to this point, it seems like 4 hours and 30 minutes is a decent progress for 75 rounds, but you would be really surprised how awfully slow the last 25 rounds are, mainly due to transitioning over to this version of the strat. So around 77 was the start of day 6, meaning that at this point we only had 48 hours remaining until the challenge was over. We still had to finish off Shang and 3 more maps. At this point, I could finally say for the first time that I felt a little bit of confidence that I could complete this challenge. But keep in mind that if I ended up dying at around 90 plus on either Shang or Shi No Numa, which was one of the remaining 3 maps, I could still very likely fail the challenge. This strat doesn't change for the remaining of the game. One good advice before transitioning to the camping strat is make sure you got all 4 drops so you don't need to worry about bumping into death machines. Also, the good thing about using the KM44 with fireworks is that you won't need to worry about box trades for the baby gun, and if you ever need to rebuy ammo, just simply pay $250 to give the zombie a free Uber ride, then grab ammo on your way back. Around 90, we reached 7 hours plus in the grind, and the rounds felt dreadfully long. At least in the end, we were able to hit that sub 10 hours for round 100, but sadly with 2 downs. It was pretty crazy how the last 10 rounds took nearly 3 hours, which could have been an entire moon round 100 grind. This map took way longer than what it should have been, but at least we got it in one go, and now we are left with the final 3 maps: Gorod, Krovi, Shi No Numa, and Revelations. Up next, we have Revelations, which is by far the most difficult map on BO3. I mean, just look at how few people has reached round 255 on this map. I don't see my name on this list yet because, you know, it's hard to entertain my character when it's only staying in one spot and not moving for a long time. Majority of the zombie map that requires to turn on power is actually accessible from one switch, but because this map is so challenging, it actually requires 4. These switches are scattered across 4 different sectors, but luckily you can start off with the first one at spawn. But oh wait, these aren't like the ordinary switches on Kino. These are rituals where you have to try to kill a bunch of demon looking creatures and try to survive for a moment of time before it actually turns on. Once the first ritual is completed, it grants you a teleporter where you can have access to Jug immediately because the map knows you've already had a heart attack coming this far. On round 9, I was lucky enough to get the Apothicon. Most maps generally will only allow 1 golden wonder weapon, but on this map you get 2 because it's too challenging. In the meanwhile, I started aiming for the blue rocks in the sky because this was a cheat code that the map didn't want you to realize that you could actually upgrade your Apothicon. Then on round 13, in order to pack a punch, punch, firstly you need to capture the Big Daddy that probably has the power to wipe out the entire fog on transit with one puff. Once you are in his tummy, softly shoot his 3 oranges and you are simply able to pack your Apothicon now. Then out his nostrils you go. I really hope Rich Toten is not someone who's scared of height, because if I was a character on this map, I'd be puking all over myself. On round 18, I was able to get the OG Thunder Gun, and all that was left were the rags, which I ended up getting from the same box. Next, we headed back to the beast and obtained the Zeus Cannon. Now we can finally proceed over to Verruckt with the high round strats. The perks I've chose for this run were Jug, Quick, Stam, and Speed. I chose Stam purposely because it made it easier for me to hit the Gobblegum in between rounds. There are also plenty of other supports on this map, such as the shield, helmets, and upgraded perks, but I never signed up for Halloween to play this map. The way this strat works is quite simple, as all you need to basically do is stand right beside the trap and don't get bored. This will be a 2 spawn strat, as the zombies will only spawn in the 2 windows in front of you. One thing you have to make sure is keep the doors behind open, as for some reason if you kept it closed, zombies tend to spawn from behind. Another thing to keep an eye out for is make sure you don't go over the bump of cracks behind where the box lays, as that will also cause spawn from behind. The only exception will be to hit the Gobblegum in between rounds or during bug round. This strat is crazy fast. If not, one of the fastest strat on BO3. You can simply hit round 50 in less than an hour if you were to optimize your speedrun. When you encounter a bug round, you want to make your way over to the cave section and shoot your gun, as it has the fastest spawn. One thing I never understood is why the bonus rounds on this map takes ages to get through. Here is a surprising fact for those who may not know, but the round 100 speedrun on Moon is actually faster than the round 100 speedrun on Revelations. And I feel that if the bonus rounds weren't extended, it might be arguable to say that Revelation would have been the fastest round 100, but of course, only God would know that. Pretty much for the whole game, you are mainly relying on your Apothicon and rags, as you really only need to use your Thunder Gun if either the Panzer or Margwa spawns in. The strat is so easy to the point that the chat challenged me to play the rest of this game from my couch. This tightened up the intensity for me because it was so hard for me to see from my Nintendo DS monitor. Then on round 84, the best way to deal with the boss rounds is simply just spam your Thunder Gun half a second before it spawns in, and you should be able to take care of them without a scratch. Then on round 85 plus, I ended up getting a rag glitch where I could no longer pull them out or use them for the rest of the game. Apparently there was an infinite rag glitch on this map, and I somehow accidentally triggered the first step of it when I ran into the death machine with my rags out. I'm not even sure exactly how it works, but I was forced to rely on my Thunder Gun and traps when I was running low on ammo on my Apothicon. At this point in the game, we have already been streaming for nearly 15 hours straight, and I was starting to feel quite drained and so ready to finish off the last 10 rounds so I can go to bed. And then this happens. We'll just do this. I think this should be enough to finish off the round. I can turn on the trap as well, I guess, which can kind of help. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Wow, I actually crashed. That's because I turned on the trap? That crash was extremely tilting for me, and I knew I had to run this shit back up. Onto the second round we go. The RNG for Wonder Weapon was way worse than my first game, and I ended up taking my first down on round 20. I could still remember even up to today how tilted I was when I started the second run. I literally wanted to quit the challenge at this moment. Then on round 83, I was so tired to the point where my eyes could barely open up, and I've been autopiloting this entire second run, which led to my second down. I have no explanation for my second down, didn't even realize rags were over. At this point, I couldn't care less about how many downs I had. I just wanted to sleep so badly. Then finally, we were once again back on round 89. I had been staying away from death machine drops this entire second run, and I got to admit I was quite worried if I was going to crash again, and then this happens. Did I fool you guys there? Nah. The second run, we were able to finish off round 100 at roughly 3 hours and 30-ish minutes with 2 downs. It was unfortunate that the first game crashed, as it was a flawless run. I definitely would not have been able to rerun the third one if I somehow crashed again. So today is the big final day, as we are approaching close to the 7th day in 4 hours. I have decided that I will be powering through a 24-hour stream if I must. After napping for roughly 5 hours, which could have been 8 hours if we didn't crash on Revelations, we are starting the grind on the last second map, which is Shi No Numa, which leaves Gorod Krovi as the finale. I mentioned back on Zets that Zets was one of my least favorite maps. Well, guess what? Shi No Numa is my least favorite map of all time. It's just something about the atmosphere that just draws me away away. For some reason, every time I play this map, I seem to never get jug on first hut or second hut and even third. The RNG on this map might even be more dogshit than Moon, as the Waffle and Monkey Bomb just seems out of the perimeter to get. Two things you want to do before proceeding with hitting the box is first, make sure you keep the stairs from spawn closed, as it will help with the spawn for the later high round strat. Next, make sure to set up the max ammo Easter egg, as it can only be done with the starting pistols. This isn't required for any of these round 100 rounds, but it's always nice just to have a backup. On round 14, I was able to get the Mark II, so it didn't seem like my guns were such pea shooters. Then on round 19, I couldn't believe it. I actually got lucky and got the Waffle, which was really nice because we were able to proceed to the high round strat right away. There are several versions of strats you can do for this map, but the one I like doing for the first 50 to 60 rounds is simply camping in the comm room and spamming the Waffle and using the traps. The faster version is staying in the storage hut instead, but it'll be more risky. I have to admit, the early strat for this map is quite entertaining, as you are simply just spamming and cycling through your Gobblegum for LCAM and just cruising through the rounds. In addition, you also get dog rounds, which can really help speed things up. Then on round 50 is where you will begin to encounter visual bugs, where dogs don't explode and just vanishes the moment you kill them. Also, when you turn on the traps, it becomes invisible, so often at times you need to be extra cautious. I have indeed killed myself a couple times in the past where I first played this version of Shi No Numa due to these invisible traps. Mark II shots as well as Waffle shots will start to become invisible. I'm not really sure exactly the reason that causes these visual bugs on this map, as this isn't an issue on the other maps, but what I'm more clueless about is why the hell in the world did this map get remastered on almost every zombie game. It was first introduced on War at War, then it got remastered on Black Ops 1. Then years later, it got released on Black Ops 3 as part of Chronicles. Then it got released on COD Mobile Zombies, which is probably the worst version of this map because for some reason the high round was time-based and they literally put Avogadro in that map, which was just mental. Absolutely had no idea what the intention of it was. I think the developer was probably trying to add in some trees that grew avocados, but instead it grew Avogadros. Then in the newest zombie game, Vanguard, we once again got another remake of Shi No Numa, which was actually enjoyable to some extent until when you gotta go pee and you try pausing the game, and once you come back, you're at the main menu. That was great. It just doesn't really make any sense to me how a map that got remastered multiple times makes me feel like I'm still playing on last gen. But this isn't the main reason why I dislike Shi No Numa so much, but the fact that the high round strat is incredibly boring. I switched over to this version of strat at roughly 55 as Waffle ammo was becoming an issue. As mentioned earlier, there are several ways to do this strat. There's a 3 hut strat, which is the fastest, but since I'm not familiar with it, we'll be downgrading to the 2 hut strat. This strat will require you to train in the comm room while the trap is switched on. Then once the trap is switched off, you want to try to train out of the hut and make your way over to the flogger trap. The more optimal way to play this strat is to actually run out the hut while the trap is still on so that it can kill the entire horde, but I wanted to play this game safe. Once you enter the entrance, you want to do a semi-train here while shooting an SCG for more points. I chose the SCG over the VMP mainly because it has no recoils and much better for far range. Next, once you bring them over to the flogger area, you make another circle and then activate the trap on your return. The more optimal way to use the flogger is to actually activate it right before you head over to the circle-ish field, then crouch back through the flogger so it kills 2 horde instead of 1, but if you're not trying to speedrun, then it doesn't really matter. After the flogger, you want to head back to comm room and repeat the strat. And honestly, if they were able to drain all the annoying water from this map, I'd probably give this map a solid rating of 1 out of 10. On round 60, visual bugs were getting worse, so any drops would not be shiny. At this point, it seems like the rounds are still cruising through pretty fast as we are only 2 hours and a half in, but this map is like a brother of Shangri La, where the last 20 rounds are just awfully slow. If at any time you got back out camp, you can always switch back to the camping strat. On round 71 was the transition to day 7. I marked a 24-hour countdown timer to show the remaining time of the final day. That being said, if the timer hits 0 and I haven't yet completed Gorod Krovi, then challenge fails. Crazy thing is we weren't even halfway done with Shi No Numa yet because this map is such a crawl. I start to wonder if the reason why Verruckt and Shino take so long was due to the fact that Nacht or Toten gave them birth or something. On round 80, we managed to hit a little over 5 hours, but in reality, we were only a little over halfway to reaching round 100. Then on round 90, we reached 7 hours, so close but yet so far. As we approached round 99, I decided to retrieve the max ammo from the Easter egg as I was purposely trying to speed up the final round, which allowed us to complete Shi No Numa 16 minutes faster than Shang and also flawless. This also leaves us behind 17 hours and 30-ish minutes to beat the final round 100. If there was one quote that I can leave behind for Shi No Numa, it would be don't play this map unless if you have a reason to. At last, we began the final round 100, Gorod Krovi. A little bit of a backstory was during my 14-day challenge, it was actually my first time playing this map, and I was somehow able to reach round 100 on first try. That being said, grinding up my second 100 was still pretty new to me. Setting up on this map is actually quite simple, at least for a round 100 grind. I still remember sometime after the 14 days challenge, I did a stream on this map where I spent hours just learning how to complete the EE. Then after beating the boss, came to a realization that my reward wasn't even permanent because supposedly you have to beat it within 90 minutes to keep the perkaholics. Luckily for this grind, doing the EE isn't mandatory. Interesting thing about this map is that the RNG for the Mark III is insanely good. I don't think there's a single game where I have came across struggling to get this weapon, and honestly just makes me feel that the map just wants you to have this junk. Because the real interesting thing about this map is the real wonder weapon is actually not the Mark III but the shield. On round 13, I headed over to Pack Room and activated the lockdown. For some reason, I thought this step was required to turn on Pack-a-Punch, but doesn't hurt to be rewarded the Dragon Strike. Once you have the Mark III pack, you are pretty much ready for the early round strat. I make my way over to Stam Room and simply camp right at the debris and spam the Mark III. The strat is quite fast as I believe it's only a 3 spawn strat, but the issue with this is that eventually the Mark III will begin to fall off. The perks I've chose for this run were Quick, Jug, Speed, and Double Tap. Speed was one of my picks due to how slow the Mark III reloads. Double Tap is quite useful as you will need to use AATs as part of the high round shield strat later on. Stam or Electric Cherry would be nice if you could obtain it from the bonus perk from spawn. On round 23, I grabbed the Valkyrie helmet as you will need it for the high round strat. I have to admit, the Valkyries are one of the most annoying things to deal with. The fact that when you try to shoot them and they spin around, like damn, I don't need to see a performance, just die, please, thank you. And also, during Valkyrie round, for some reason, the last Valkyrie loves to play hide and seek with you. On round 31, I ended up taking my first down, which was super early in the game. I decided to continue with the game and ended up making a stupid mistake from accidentally purchasing Stam. Now without the power of Speed Cola, the strat is going to be a bit more tedious. Round 39 was the last round I stayed doing this strat as the Mark III will start to fall off. On round 40, I transitioned over to the shield strat down below in the bunker room. This strat will require you to rely mainly on your shield blast, which consists of 3 charges. The key thing with this strat is to try to space out your blast and melee your shield so that it's about to break right before using the last blast. Once it breaks, you want to move over to the right side and shoot your Vesper with turn, then make your way back to the table and shoot a charge shot from Mark III before picking up a new shield. This strat is pretty much a rinse and repeat. The trap is also there for you to help speed up the round as it's actually in a really good spot and kills a decent amount of zombies. The Valkyrie's beams won't be much of an issue as you already have the helmet for reduced damage, but you do want to be careful when you're near the Valkyries because their movements can be unpredictable. I had several scenarios where I went down due to bumping into them and getting stuck. Another troublesome feature about this map are the Manglers. It's crazy how strong their blasts and melees are, and often at times it just seems like an instant down. On round 41, I took my second down. At first I thought it was due to the Mangler because of how quickly I went down, but after rewinding it, it seems like I shot my Mark III in the bad spot and ended up getting triple slapped by the zombies. At this point, I decided to restart my run since we're only an hour-ish in the game. Then on second game, we ended up downing on round 14, which was another restart. Third game, down on round 10, another restart. Fourth game, round 9. Like damn, I might as well rename this challenge as round 0 challenge. At this point, I was getting really frustrated as for some reason it was hard for me to focus properly. We wasted 2.5 hours already and yet we couldn't get a game going on. Knowing that the timer is ticking and I was already burned out as hell, the pressure for the final round 100 was overwhelming. Then I finally managed to get a game going. We repeated the Stam strat up to 39 and rotated to the bunker once again on round 40. I actually got lucky somehow on this game because I managed to complete the side quest, which granted me a free perk, the Electric Cherry, which was probably the best to get awarded out of the option. We managed to hit round 50 at about an hour 30 minutes, which really shows how fast this map can be. For Gobblegums, you really only need either plain sight or anywhere but here since alchemical isn't required when using the shield blast. One interesting fact about this map is that it has one of the biggest restrictions in order to achieve round 255, which is to fully avoid killing Valkyries for the entire game. That being said, the only time you should be killing them are either at the end of the round or during Valkyrie rounds, otherwise your game will crash. It's also unfortunate that you can't rely on the Gauntlet Specialist for higher rounds because apparently it will cause the same outcome. Even up to today, I'm still clueless on how these things work besides sending out my baby dragon. For the rest of the game, I had a couple close calls. Then finally was trying to go for a sub 6 hours. However, 6 hours and 15 seconds, we finally completed the last round 100 and the final flawless. We were also left with approximately 8 hours and 36 minutes remaining for the challenge, which was prepared for my next special map called Time to Sleep. This has become my longest stream I've ever done, a 19.5 hours straight with roughly a 15 minutes eating break only. This had been a one heck of a 7-day grind, and absolutely I felt destroyed, demolished, and dismantled. I started this challenge with the initial impression that I wouldn't be able to complete it, but seeing all the support and motivation that you guys had given me, I strive with all of my effort to make it possible to complete this challenge, not only in 14 days, but 7 days.
We pass the game. It's a positive pass the game. Some fireworks for you guys, alright? There's some fireworks for you guys. Woo! We're breaking the game, boys. We're breaking the game.
Lastly, I want to give a massive shout out to my boy CM, who has worked extremely hard in helping to edit this 1 hour montage with me. Dropping a like on this video would mean the world to the both of us. And before I let you all go, I just have one question. Let us know in the comment section below which map did you enjoy watching me grind to round 100 the most and why. Thank you guys all once again, and we'll see you all on the next episode.